All right, welcome back. Hans and I are here on his balcony on the streets of Medellín, Colombia. And we're continuing our series, Hans, on being an elder. And we titled today's episode, Stare into the Abyss with Him. Yesterday I was watching a video by a Native American elder, and telling a story of a young man who comes to his grandfather, and I forget what the question was he asked him, but it's the young man going to an elder. And in the grandfather's response, before we get to what the grandfather says, you can just hear, and I hear this often with Native American elders, or especially like of the age to be grandfathers, that you can just hear like they carry all their people in their heart, and future generations and land, like it's a lot more than them who's speaking. You can feel the heart, and there's something profound about that. I personally have not spent much time with Native Americans, but it's as if the grandfather has seen more death and more loss, and speaking to the younger man or the boy, his message is keep going. And in this video, he's talking about the many difficulties of life, and the message is not like rah rah. It's not about happiness and success. The message is the grandfather is there with him, looking at the difficulties, the pain, the darkness, and his message is keep going. And there's honor in that. Keep going. In the face of it all, keep going. There's this quiet, beautiful sense of strength, sense of spirit. Keep going.
With sense of care, and that's, to me, the way you describe it, the remarkable part. Because I haven't seen much more, and haven't seen pain, and haven't seen that you end up caring more, or carrying more people in your heart. That sounds remarkable and quite very uplifting also, actually. That seeing all that, or seeing more grief, that it doesn't make you disconnect, but rather connect more and care more. That's a great way to look at, but that's a great prospect of getting older. That's a great prospect of, if that is the effect of seeing tragedy and pain. That's fantastic. No? That's something I look forward to.
Well, grief is taboo. Grief is taboo in American culture, probably largely in Western culture in general, as is death. We're a very death-phobic culture, and there's feels like something deeply missing about all this focus on staying young, staying positive and happy, and in a way avoiding pain, avoiding suffering, avoiding death. And you can see the madness in a way with our response to the COVID pandemic. Just terror of death versus many other cultures come and gone, and how they approach death. I think that's a beautiful role for an elder. And I mentioned, is it Stephen Jenkinson or Stephen Jenkins? Stephen Jenkinson, I think. who put out the documentary Grief Walker. And he is like a grief worker, and he's spent time with many people on their deathbeds. And he talks at length about our phobia of death and the role of an elder or a dying man to be an example of a beautiful way to embrace your own death as an example for the younger generations. So they're not in fear about death, and so they can live a great life. Is this, this phobia of death keeps us from taking risk, keeps us from fully living in many ways.
So staring into the abyss, that's maybe that, looking together at death and not turning your eyes away, not trying to solve it, not trying to run from it.
I've told the story a few times about a young man from the Middle East. He was about 16 or 17, came to the U.S. with his family. His mom had attended my eye stand, the honor work, and she kept asking me, practically begging me to spend time with her son. And I was reluctant to do so because there was a sense that something was wrong with her son and I could fix him. But I agreed to, and I told her I can't remember what I said exactly, but I'm just going to spend time with him, And so I invited him out to the cliffs overlooking Austin, Texas. We hiked up the cliffs and we went and sat on the edge of the cliff. We're just looking over this vast, beautiful valley. And I just sat and listened to the life he was facing, the reality and future he was facing. He was very angry. He was saying the kind of things I could see why his mom was alarmed. He was saying, very violent things. His mom was probably afraid that he was going to act out violently towards others or towards himself. And I just sat with him and I could see the reality he was facing, and I validated his anger. And there's this, a sense of grief there at what's been lost. He'd been taken away from his deep and rich Middle Eastern tradition and supplanted in this other world where he doesn't belong. And his father doesn't have a respected role. And he doesn't have his people, he doesn't have his homeland. And so it's a beautiful role to just sit there and not sit there with him and face the abyss. And there's a sense in just sitting and facing it that everything's going to be all right. We can look at it.
Yes.
We can feel it. It's okay. It's not going to destroy us. It's not bigger than us. And it's there. We have what it takes to face it. We can walk through it. And the grandfather's message in this Native American video I watched yesterday was keep going. Was his message to the younger man. Facing all of the darkness, the elder's message was, yes, yeah, it's dark. It's dark, it's dangerous, it's painful. Keep going.
I see some of the men I know facing the abyss, worried they won't have any money, judgmental of themselves, being subject of their emotion, not feeling connected, feeling a lot of anger around the family, wanting to save them. I see men completely going away from their own family because there's so much grief there, building new lives in new countries, setting up communities so they could feel home. I see men who are have a lot to tell, but like abandoned on humanity because they feel there is no one's listening, or
we need to gather as men and tell our stories, face the abyss together around the fire, tell the stories of our grandfathers, of our ancestors. Clint is watching, and he's definitely faced the abyss the last few years, and he's still going. I'm sure he's driving his truck right now down some long American highway alone.
Well then, hopefully he's not watching but just listening.
Facing the abyss.
And if what I'm learning as a friend or as an ally, as in a role, if I am to play any role as an elder, is how willing am I to look into the abyss, and how willing am I to feel with the other? Because it's only in the extent that I'm willing to feel with the other that I will be invited to represent and speak for the other and be of help to the other. And that's a huge learning for me, to feel with the other. Maybe that's a big part of the staring into the abyss, feeling with the other.
It's just like, even in silence, right? You're both looking, it's how you're looking at it you're facing the death, maybe you're at the graveside of a man's father together, and you're just there, you're looking into the hole where the casket is being placed, and not even words need to be said, but just the fact that we're there, like that's where we're going. That's gonna be us, and it's okay. There's very much a sense in our Western culture of to manage, to survive, to be successful, what we need to do is avoid the negativity, the pain, the darkness, the death. And it feels very untrustworthy to me.
Yes.
Very superficial.
It's similar with women, in relationships. If you're willing to just stay and be with the emotion without trying to solve it, that's the man who stays. That's powerful. The elder stays and looks with you. Feels with you. I'm saying this, as I'm speaking, I'm not teaching, I'm just exploring this, like how willing am I to feel with the other? That's the caring for the other, the willingness to feel, not the willingness to understand, which is like maybe an empathy, but the willingness to feel with the other and just be there with them.
It's the honor work that we do is a different approach to confronting life, rather than trying to escape the darkness and the pain and stay high vibration and positive. It's fully facing the pain, the darkness, the suffering, And from then calling upon the spirit, you could say, or summoning the honor, transmuting all that is into honor. But it starts with the facing.
Yes.
It starts with the full welcoming of all that is. Yeah, it's powerful. It's the work we're going to be doing inside of this Facebook group that we're about to launch, Hans.
Yes.
So men who are watching this, we're welcoming you to join us inside of this Facebook group. We're going to face what's coming. We're going to face what is.
Face what you've lost.
We're going to face it together. And we're going to welcome honor. We're going to welcome our people into our hearts. We're going to welcome our ancestors, our future generations. And
we'll take care of each other. I think, yes.
And from there will come a calling. Deeper than a invented mental purpose or just a dream or a goal. There is a deep calling that comes from remembering
Yes.
your people and facing what they face with them.
Yes, and we're not going towards happiness and success, but we are going to salvation.
Yes.
And
Deep elation.
yes, it's a different feeling.
Beyond happiness, I would say.
Yes.
More profound.
All right.
We invite you to join us.
See you tomorrow.